First of all, what is the meaning of the Uniform Civil Code? We all know India is a diverse country with multiple religions and the religious laws. Currently, the different religion groups having the different personal laws. So, the Uniform Civil Code is all about bringing a common set of laws governing personal matters such as the marriage, divorce, inheritance, and adoption for all citizens, irrespective of their religious affiliations. So, this is all about bringing a common law which is applicable to all the citizens throughout the country, irrespective of their religious differences in the country. So the Uniform Civil Code is all about this. So what are the different examples of different civil codes persisted in India? Why we need such type of different the Uniform Civil Code? If we see, the Hindu religious groups contain the Hindu Marriage Act, which was enacted in 1955. It governs the marriage divorce among the Hindus, and along with the Hindu Succession Act 1956 deals with the inheritance of property. That means the Hindu religious group is having a separate personal laws regarding the marriage, divorce, and the inheritance in the form of Hindu Marriage Act and in the form of Hindu Succession Act. But if we see, on the other hand, the Muslim community follows the Muslim personal law based on the Sharia, which is famously known as the Shariat law. The Muslim Personal Law Application Act 1937 regulates the matters related to the marriage, divorce, inheritance, and the maintenance among the Muslims. If we see further, the Christians, the Parsis, and Jews follow some other law, that is the Indian Succession Act of 1925. The Christian women receive a predetermined share based on the presence of children and the other relatives. The Parsi widows receive an equal share as their children, with half of the children's share going to the deceased parents if they are alive. In this way, we have the different type of laws to the Hindu religious group, to the Muslim religious group, to the Christian, Parsis, and the Jews. Now, the Uniform Civil Code want to address all these problems by bringing a common set of law to the all the Indians throughout the country. Then, when it actually began, the Uniform Civil Code became a flashpoint in Indian politics since the time period of 1985 in the Shah Bano case. The Shah Bano reached to the Supreme Court. She is a Muslim woman, and she demanded to receive a alimony from ex-spouse, and the Supreme Court held that the Shah Bano must receive the alimony from her ex-spouse. But in this context, the court said the uniform personal law were first framed in the country, but due to fear of opposition from the Muslim community, the Britishers were not inferred in this matter. So since that time period, the since the time period of the Shah Bano case, the Uniform Civil Code requirement was openly set by the Supreme Court in the country. But the demand for Uniform Civil Code put forward by the women activists in the beginning of 20th century, once the India got the independence, and there were so many reformers tried for the implementation of this Uniform Civil Code for the betterment of the women, especially for the Hindu widows. In 1956, the Indian Parliament passed the Hindu Code Bill by introducing this Uniform Civil Code, but again it received so much of opposition in the country. Though a demand for Uniform Civil Code was made by the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and his supporters and even some of the women activists, they had finally accepted the compromise of this because they were unable to enact this Uniform Civil Code, but they are successful for the incorporation of this Uniform Civil Code in the form of Directive Principles of State Policy in the Constitution of India. What is the meaning of this Directive Principles of State Policy? If we observe, we are saying finally they are succeeded by incorporating this Uniform Civil Code in the Constitution of India under Directive Principles of State Policy. The Directive Principles of State Policy contain again the different categories. The Uniform Civil Code was mentioned under the liberal and intellectual column of this DPSP under Article 44 of Constitution. Then there is one doubt. Once the DPSP was incorporated in the Constitution under Article 44, but still, why this Uniform Civil Code was not implemented in the country? Because the Directive Principles of State Policy is only the directions mentioned in the Constitution for the state. While making a policy, it is better if the state follow these guidelines, then the state can make a better policy. It is not mandatory on the government to follow these guidelines provided under DPSP. So it is up to the government whether to implement this code or not. It is just mentioned as a direction in the Constitution, but ultimately the government has to come forward for the implementation of this code in the country. That's why till now the Uniform Civil Code was not implemented in the country. It need one of the law made by the Parliament, and that is going to be placed in this monsoon session very soon in the country. So as we discussed, the Constitution left that one for the discretion of the government ultimately. So now it became a sensitive topic in the country, and some of the people are saying there is a need in the country for the introduction of this Uniform Civil Code. So some of the points why we need the Uniform Civil Code in the country. It says it promotes the real secularism, because till now whatever the secular character the country is having, it is only selective secularism, because in some areas we are secular, in other areas we are leaving completely that one as a choice of the religious communities. So it is very important if we bring this Uniform Civil Code. That means all the citizens of India have to follow the same law, whether they are Hindus or Muslims or Christians or Sikhs. This sounds fair and secular. That's why a Uniform Civil Code does not mean it will limit the freedom of people to follow their religion. It just means that every person will be treated the same. That is the real secularism all about. So along with that, all Indians should be treated same, irrespective of any differences of religion. It is mandatory provision. Every citizen should get the right treatment and the same treatment in the country. Along with that, the Uniform Civil Code promotes the more rights to the women, because it provides the equal type of protection to all the women irrespective of religious differences. If the Hindu religious community is getting the fair compensation from the husband after the divorce, the same type of protection must be stretched enough to the other religious communities also. Not only India, every modern nation is following the Uniform Civil Code. After 60 years of independence, even till today, we are having a debate on the introduction of Uniform Civil Code, but majority of the nations, even some of the Muslim nations where they follow the strict rules, they also stretch this type of Uniform Civil Code to all the other religious community groups other than the Muslim community. For example, if we see the countries like Israel, Japan, France, and Russia, everyone is having this type of Uniform Civil Code. The European nations, the USA, have a secular law, that applies equally and uniformly to all the citizens irrespective of their religion. So it is very important and it is a need of the hour for the country to introduce this uniform civil code. Then, if we further study what are the merits of this uniform civil code, once we bring this uniform civil code to be operated in the country, we can have a common civil code. That is the major agenda and the objective of this uniform civil code. And it even helps and accelerate the national integration, which is very, very important for the country where we have a diversified culture and diversified sentiments. And overlapping provision of law could be avoided, which is very important because we should not have the different type of laws from one religious community to another religious community. When we have such type of differential laws, then the overlapping is very common. So with the introduction of this uniform civil code, we can avoid this overlapping. The litigation due to personal law would decrease, and the feeling of oneness and the national spirit can be aroused among all the citizens. The country would emerge with a new force and power to face any odds, and we can finally defeat the communal rights in the country. So it promotes the culture of the oneness, and along with that, it promotes the spirit of the national unity in the country. And for everything, we have the drawbacks also. So what is the major drawbacks of this uniform civil code? Why some of the people are opposing it? So as a multi-religious country, when we bring the same common set of rules for all the religions, definitely there are worries to be addressed in the country. The challenges are very common, but the beauty lies when we overcome these challenges for the implementation of this uniform civil code. But whatever, let's see what are the points to be raised by the opposed members also. The first and foremost point is, they said it brings the difficulty due to its diversity. The implementation of uniform civil code is a cumbersome task due to wide diversity of our nation. The cultural differences from state to state and the community to community is yet another hindrance for the unified personal law. And along with that, the interference of state in personal matters is not acceptable by many religious groups. And the Constitution provides for the right to freedom of religion of one's choice. With codification of uniform rules and its completion, the scope of the freedom of religion will be reduced. And one more worry lies is the protection of minority rights, because the bringing of common set of rules may hinders the minority rights in the country. That is also one of the worry for bringing of uniform civil code. And political considerations, because in the country our politicians always come up for their own benefits, like maybe the the communal people or maybe some of the religious political parties come forward to oppose this bill, and for their own benefit of vote bank politics they can come with this with the opposed sentiments also. So these are some of the challenges definitely we have for the uniform civil code, but we have to overcome these challenges. And it is very important to bring a common set of rules and regulations to be applicable throughout the country, irrespective of any differences in the country. So this is how the uniform civil code is having a debate in the country, and many of the public opinions are also receiving by the government presently, and we have to see whether the bill gets success or not. But as of now, it is a sensible topic in the country. This is how we have to understand the uniform civil code. In the exam point of view, we have to think like, what is the definition of this uniform civil code, when it actually started, where it was mentioned in the Constitution of India, what is the need of this uniform civil code, what are the pros, what are the cons, how we have to come up the uniform civil code to be successful by overcoming all the challenges in front of the government. This is all about the uniform civil code. We hope you have understand the uniform civil code concept. This is for the day. Have a great day. See you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Do like, comment and share our video and subscribe for the further notifications.